At long last, the NFL will release its schedule on Wednesday. Now, we've known the opponents the Panthers are going to play for about 4 months now. We just don't know the dates of those games. And one of the dates I really would like to know before Wednesday is when the Panthers going to play in Munich. So we'll break down what the Panthers schedule may look like as far as the dates go right here on Locked On Panthers.
You are Locked On Panthers, your daily Carolina Panthers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into another edition of the Locked On Panthers podcast, a part of the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, as always, Julian Council, talking Carolina Panthers with you every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and yes, Friday, your team every day. That's our motto here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Subscribe or follow the show for free on YouTube or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. And be sure to follow me, Julian Council, on Twitter at Julian Council. Why? Because on Fridays here throughout the offseason, I'm answering your weekly Friday mailbag questions. And the best way to get those into me is by either adding me or DMing. But of course, follow me on Twitter at Julian Council to get those questions in for this week's edition of the weekly Friday mailbag right here on Locked On Panthers. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code Locked On NFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Wednesday night, 8 p.m., the NFL will finally give us the schedule. Now, that's not necessarily true. We've had the schedule since January 7th when the regular season ended. We have known for 4 months now who the Carolina Panthers are going to play. We just have not known when they're going to play those opponents. That's what we're going to find out on Wednesday night. And I have to tell y'all, this has been driving me insane. I'm a planner. I plan out my entire year, my entire weekend. I have a notes app planning out my entire schedule. Maybe I'm insane, but I just like to plan things. And at the beginning of the year, working at NASCAR full-time, I get my schedule in January. I'm able to plan out my entire spring. That's primarily when I'm on the road covering races, and then also know what my fall is going to look like and what weekends I need to try to not work because I host a Panthers podcast. I can't be working on Sundays. I don't have time for the race in Talladega. I don't have time for what's going on in Martinsville and Phoenix come November. I need to be talking about the Panthers. I need to be helping y'all out and letting y'all know what's going on with this team. I can't be working those days. So I'm able to figure out my schedule with NASCAR in January. But with the NFL, they want to make me wait until May to figure out what my fall is going to look like. And this year in particular has been a very trying time for your boy because I got to know when this game is going to be in Munich, man. I have been ready to know. I have been starving for this knowledge because I'm going. I am planning on being in Munich, Germany, as long as it falls on a day that it needs to fall on, because I am actually scheduled to work a race in Martinsville in early November. And my hope is I won't still be at this current job, but my also hope is that I can be able to go to Germany if it's not on that weekend where right now I can't get out of it. So I have been obsessing over when this game potentially will be played. I have even gone back and looked at past seasons. They've only been playing in Germany, Frankfurt, and Munich for the last couple of years. So it's not a long history of the NFL playing in Germany as far as regular season NFL games. Yes, NFL Europe once existed, but as far as regular season NFL games, there's only 2 years of empirical data to go based off of to try to figure out when the Panthers may play this game. I have gone off of that data, and I have already booked a hotel room, multiple reservations over multiple weeks and multiple time amounts, depending upon whether I end up going to Munich and when I would be able to go to Munich to cover the Panthers and to attend this game, as I wasn't able to go to London. I was working back at WFNZ at the time. Kyle Bailey, who I produced for, he got to go, and I was super jealous that I was not there to watch that ass-kicking of Jameis Winston and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This time around, I have a lot more interest in going to Munich than London, to be honest, and I don't want to miss it. I'm not going to miss it. I need to know when this is going to be. I have had the flight itinerary in my tabs for months. And that probably has not helped my mental health when trying to figure out when this game will be played. But I have looked at my American flight go from being $603 economy to now being $1,500. I'm now looking at Lufthansa, which has got a good price right now. Don't look at it, but it's got a good price right now. And I'm ready to jump on it. I already got my seat picked out. I already know my itinerary when I'm going to get to Munich, if it's on the day that I think it may be on. Now, looking back in the past, trying to figure out when this game may be. Last year, the games were in Frankfurt, which were played November 5th and November 12th. The first time the NFL has ever played two regular season games in Germany in 2022. The game was played on November 13th. Based on that, November 3rd or November 10th are the most likely dates the Panthers will play in Munich this fall. London games have largely been played in October. There have been occasions where they played in November and also in September, but the expectation is that the London games will all be in October. I went over the Wikipedia to look at the NFL international games to go back and find the dates when they played in Frankfurt and in Munich the last two seasons. And someone has already gone out there, and we know anyone can edit Wikipedia, but it's still a decent site to go check out for some knowledge. Someone has already listed October 6th, 13th, and 20th as the game dates for the London game. We do know the Jags will be in London, as they're always in London. They actually spent 2 weeks in London last year. So we know that they're going to have London games, and they're likely going to be in October. And according to Wikipedia, however reliable of a source that is, those games are going to be on October 6th, 13th, and 20th. Now, I have seen the fake Twitter rumor NFL accounts that have like 200 followers, and they try to dupe people and yada, yada, yada. I've seen those say that the Panthers were going to play in Munich on October 13th, which is week 6. I've also seen them say that they would play in week 10 on November 10th, which actually would make more sense. I don't think they're going to be playing in October. And now if they do play week 6, October 13th, I did look at my schedule and I'd be free to go. The flights, though, more expensive. And the hotel rooms that I booked back in January, probably more expensive, especially once the news comes out, when the game is. And then all of you and I flock to go get accommodations and book our flights, make our trip out there to go see the Panthers play in Deutschland. I've also seen the rumored opponents are the Giants. That seems to be what all the fake Twitter accounts are saying right now. It's going to be the Giants. And maybe the fake Twitter accounts are right. Maybe they're onto something. Joe Person also, who covers this thing pretty closely, he reported last week when providing an update with Stephon Gilmore and the Panthers changing up some things in their scouting department. He said the most likely opponents looking at it are the Giants and the Cardinals. And that would make sense. The Giants, it would be kind of a nice reunion with Brian Burns. I'd rather it be in Germany than back here in Charlotte. Personally, I don't want to see him in a Giants uniform playing at Bank of America Stadium. I'm totally fine seeing him play in a Giants uniform in Allianz Arena in Munich, Germany. I'm not really interested in him doing it here in Charlotte. But one day, that will probably be the case, and maybe the case. The Cardinals would also make sense. It's not a sexy opponent for a home game. And if you're going to have a home game that you're going to lose, it's not like Arizona is like one of those fan bases that are going to take over your stadium like a lot of the ones have done. Thank you, David Tepper, for running this franchise into the ground. But there is hope with Dave Canales and Dan Morgan at the helm now. But still, he's done a terrible job, and we have seen how this has become a very transplant city. A lot of the fans who've moved to Charlotte have not had much reason to be fans of the local team here in Charlotte. So when their hometown team comes, they flock to stadium, and PSL owners, and they have the right to do this, are selling their tickets because they want to get their money back because they're getting charged every year more prices to go watch a bad football team. Thank you again, David Tepper. So the Giants or Cardinals are rumored to be the opponent. Either one of those makes sense to me. Like, I would rather, I guess, the Giants, because then you can avoid all the New Yorkers who live here. Now it's mainly Buffalo people, it feels like, but there's still got to be plenty of Giants and Jets fans in the area. You can avoid them taking over the stadium. So Cardinals, no concerns about them taking over the stadium. I'd be fine with the Giants being the game that they play in Germany. The bye week, we do know this will be after Germany. Every time there's an international game, the teams or bye week is week after that. So it's likely going to be week 11 or week 10 in mid-November. So either November 3rd or November 10th. Those are the most likely dates that we're looking at. For your boy, I want it to be November 10th. My accommodations are booked. I have a free weekend. I'm supposed to go to a friend's bachelor party down in Key West, but quite honestly, I have no interest in ever going to Key West. I love my buddy Ian, but I don't love him that much. I already told him if the game is that weekend, I'm going to Germany. And by the way, I got to be up on that Sunday morning anyways, so I really can't be hungover after a weekend in Key West. And God only knows what that would be like for your boy down there in Florida. The NFL, by the way, will announce the international slate of games on Wednesday during a 7 a.m. special on NFL Network. So wake up early, or I guess stay up late if you are in a part of the world where that is not early for you. So we'll find out who they're going to play. Seems like it's either going to be the Giants or Cardinals. I'm cool with either one of those. But the date, November 3rd, November 10th, I'm thinking, I'm hoping, I'm praying it's going to be November 10th. And once that's announced on Wednesday morning, flights booked, and I'm ready to go. Flying with you, Lufthansa. Let's go see the Panthers play in Deutschland against the Giants or the Cardinals. I'm excited about the first ever game for this franchise in Germany. So let's look at the rest of what the schedule may look like. In particular, what week one matchup will the Panthers get? It was in a divisional game last year. It was very division heavy to start the season. I don't really love that. Let's look at the ideal week one matchup for the Carolina Panthers when we come back here in just a moment on Locked On Panthers. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes guesswork out of buying NFL tickets. And the guesswork, which we're doing here on the show today, is when the Panthers are going to play Munich, when they're going to play later on the season. Who are they going to play week one? Who are they going to play week 16, 17, 18? These are all questions that we need answers to. And once we get those answers on Wednesday night and Wednesday morning, then you, the fan, can go over to Game Time and get your tickets and not have to worry about it at all. Save up to 60% off buying a last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, etc. Get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply again. Create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNFL. That's LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Here's another reason why the NFL is driving me off the wall. They announced while recording this show, and I'm recording to let you know, it's Monday, May 13th, 5:56 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm recording, and they have announced that the Cowboys and Browns are playing in week one. The Cowboys and Browns. I understand it's Tom Brady's first game on the Fox broadcast, which is BS. Greg Olsen was outstanding and should still be in the number one chair there for Fox. I get it. Tom Brady, big name, played quarterback, yada, yada, yada. Greatest living American, just got roasted. I don't care. I think Tom maybe could be good. Also, he could be bad. Drew Brees, smart football guy. He was terrible at it. Tom Brady seems to be a little bit more charismatic than Drew Brees. We'll see how it goes. The Fox already had a guy who's perfect for the role, and Greg Olsen. Doesn't need to be a name brand. No one's watching these games for who's calling the game. You can mute it. You don't have to listen to it, but you're there to watch your team, not to watch Kevin Burkhardt or Jim Nantz or Tony Romo or Joe Buck or Troy Aikman. At least I'm not there for that. I'm there to watch the Panthers because that's what I'm getting paid to do, but also because that's what I'm interested in the game. I'm not interested in who's calling the game. I do care about who calls it, but I'm not going to watch a game because or because not, if that makes sense, somebody is on the broadcast. So whatever. That's annoying. Cowboys, they know that they're playing their opponent. Now we know the Cowboys will not be playing the Panthers in week one. So trying to figure out which opponent would be the best week one matchup for Carolina. Last year, I thought it would be a no-brainer for the NFL to have the Panthers play the Texans week one. It would have been Bryce versus CJ, the number one pick versus number two pick, two California guys that are good buddies. And there was a lot of talk leading up to the draft, of course, of who was Carolina going to take. Was going to be Bryce Young, was going to be CJ Stroud. The first thought from a lot of people out there was they traded to get CJ. Then it became that it was actually Bryce Young all along. Whether that's true or not, Bryce is here, CJ's in Houston, and we saw how those two took diverging paths last season in a 2-15 season in Carolina, and in a season that ended in the AFC divisional round for the Houston Texans. So sucks that's how it worked out for us, but my hope is that Dave Canales, Dan Morgan, and this new infrastructure and some of the new weapons can get Bryce Young playing like we saw him play against the Packers and some other spurts this past season. And we're not sitting here a year from now and wondering still if the Panthers made the wrong decision. Maybe you still are. My hope is that will not be the case. So they did not do that. Instead, they scheduled the game in week 8. And by that point in time, the Panthers coming off the bye. They were 0-6. The Texans weren't quite that team just yet. Stroud had some moments, but it was a pretty bland game that nobody in the country cared about. And if you watched it, which I'm sure you did because you're a Panther fan, maybe you checked out by the point in time. And I wouldn't blame you. You probably made the right decision if you did. It was a boring game anyway. So there was no cachet to it at all. It needed to be week 1. They did not do that week 1. Instead, the Panthers go on the road to play Atlanta. Then week 2, which I really loved, was Bryce Young under the lights Monday Night Football against the Saints. I did not love the result and how things played out that evening, but it was nice to see the Panthers back on Monday Night Football, even if they didn't get the number one true Monday Night Football crew that evening. It's nice to be in prime time, which we'll get into whether they'll have any primetime games outside of the early morning bout there in Munich, either against the Giants or Cardinals. I personally do not like divisional matchups in week 1. I know the last couple of years they played the Saints early. They played in week 2, I think, like back-to-back season, like this season, the last season, I think in 22, they also played him in my September, very early on in the season. I don't really want to see divisional matchups until October and then December. Like play like 3 of them I didn't have to play all three of them, but play 2 in October, then play a couple. Yeah, play 2 in October, play 2 in December, then last 2 weeks of the season in January, play those 2. Spread them out to later on in the season. Don't have them to begin the season. They're obviously important games. We know that. There's a lot of interest in those, and it gets you ready to go. I just prefer to play teams like the Cowboys week 1, like the Panthers have done before. I like playing San Francisco in week 1. I don't care. I'll play the Raiders in week 1. Give me something different. I don't want to play the Rams before. I don't really like playing divisional games to start the season. Maybe you do. Let me know if you do. If you don't, either way, the Panthers schedule, as we know, the opponents, Falcons, Saints, Buccaneers, those are all at home. The Cowboys are at home. Giants are at home, potentially. Chiefs are scheduled to be at home. Chargers, Cardinals, Bengals. And looking at those games, Cowboys fans, you know what they're going to do here. Chiefs fans, the bandwagon is strong, so you know that's probably going to be the Panthers don't get things together. And the Bengals, a lot of Ohio people down here who love Ohio yet don't live there, so you know what to expect there. Chargers, they don't have any fans. Away, Falcons, Saints, Bucks, on the road in Philadelphia, at the Commandos, at the Broncos, at the Raiders, at the Bears. We already know that the Panthers will not be playing the Chiefs week 1 because the Chiefs are defending Super Bowl champs and they're facing off against the Ravens on Thursday Night Football to start off the season. The Eagles are going to be playing the Packers in Brazil, so the Panthers will not be playing the Eagles in week 1. Now the Cowboys, as I just mentioned, they'll be playing the Browns. So we can go ahead and take those teams off the board. I never felt like they're going to play the Chiefs start off anyways because the Chiefs were going to play on Thursday Night Football and you're not putting the Panthers there. They put the Lions there last year. And that turned out to be an outstanding call by NBC as the Lions beat the Chiefs and then went on to the NFC Championship game. The Eagles didn't think that would be one the Panthers would play either. Then the Cowboys, yeah, like they play at 4:25 on Fox when Carolina still had Cam Newton. Made a lot of sense to play that game. But now that they don't have Cam Newton, they're coming out 2-15 season. That was not going to be the opponent. One game I really would like to see is the Panthers play Chicago. We all know about the trade that led the Panthers to get Bryce Young, but then give up DJ Moore and then eventually give it the number 1 overall pick, who now is Caleb Williams. That game is on the road in Chicago. I'm thinking that the Bears are going to play week 1 at home because everyone wants to see what Caleb Williams looks like with those new weapons in that offense in Chicago at Soldier Field. So I think that would be an ideal matchup for storylines. The Bears only have Caleb Williams because the Panthers made that trade. We saw what Bryce Young looked like last year. DJ Moore, he was not too far removed from like a couple weeks ago. Maybe last week he was on with Kay Adams on FanDuel TV talking about how he didn't have a great game against the Panthers last year. And it's, oh, yeah, it's just another game. No, it's not. He wants to play better. There's some fuel there. I would like to see that game week 1. That would get me pretty excited. It also would be disappointing to see what the Panthers, I guess, could have had. At least with number 1 pick, maybe in Caleb Williams, if you wanted them to do that, had they been in that situation. That's one that moves the needle for me. The rest of them, I already said, I don't want to see a divisional opponent at all. I'm not interested in that week 1. So the other choices would be, it doesn't look like the Giants or Cardinals are going to, it could be one of those, but one of those teams is going to be in Munich. It appears to be the case. So you're left over with the Broncos, the Raiders, the Commanders, all on the road or a home game against the Chargers, or the Cardinals or the Giants. None of those are like that exciting, but I wouldn't mind seeing them play against the Commanders on the road. Jaden Daniels starting off his tenure as a Washington Commander and a team that a lot of people in North Carolina used to be big fans of. My dad grew up a Redskins fan, excuse the language, and he is now, of course, Panthers fan, having lived in Charlotte for like the last 40 years, however long it's been. And so that'd be interesting in a way. Broncos, if Bo Nix is starting, I guess there's something there. Sean Payton, old foe there. Raiders, that could be. They played him not too long ago to start the season. That maybe, not really. The charge of Harbaugh, I do like that. Harbaugh was never really a target of David Tepper. That'd be an interesting game. It's a home game, and I would love to see the Panthers start the season at home. But really, what I want to see them do is start the season off in Chicago for storylines, for the attention, the eyeballs that are going to be on that game. Say they go to Chicago, win that game, Bryce Young balls out. Folks are going to start thinking about the Panthers maybe not being so bad in year 1 with Dave Canales as their head coach. So we'll see. But that's what I want to see week 1 is at Chicago. No divisional games. Just save those. They may do it anyways. I don't like them early in the season. I want to know who the Falcons, Saints, and Bucks are by the time the Panthers play them. I don't want to just talk about who they may be. I like to see who they are and do those later on in the season when they have, feel like, more impact. And I don't like them early in the year, to be honest with y'all. Maybe you do, but I don't. All right, so those are potential week 1 matchups and my preferred week 1 matchup. Let's see if the Panthers may have another nationally televised game. They'll have one in Germany, but will they have two? Will they get to play on Monday Night Football again? Will they get to play on Sunday Night Football? They're going to have to win games for that to be the case. Or will they be stuck on Thursday Night Football? We'll look at the history of teams that have played in Germany and where they have been able to play in primetime outside of that, or I guess in a marquee national televised game outside of that. We'll talk about that here in just a moment on Locked On Panthers. It's winner take all time in the NBA and NHL, and FanDuel's giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. I know it's been trying times in Raleigh. The Canes staved off elimination this past weekend. I'm recording this before they play Game 5 against the Rangers, so fingers crossed for all the fans out there of NC State hockey, the Carolina Hurricanes. Maybe they won. Hopefully they won it for your sake. We'll see, but either way, right now, new customers, and that could be you, get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. It's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and more. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make every playoff shot count. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. We will know on Wednesday morning at 7 a.m. when the Carolina Panthers will play in Germany and who they will play there in Munich at the Allianz Arena, the home of Bayern Munich, one of the European giants, as they are an excellent football club. Did not win the Bundesliga this past year. My guy, Xabi Alonso, who did not come to Liverpool, unfortunately. Leverkusen, they are unreal this year. If you guys are interested in the Bundesliga, which you should get interested in the Bundesliga, because I think maybe you could be able to find a way, not that weekend, but if you go to Germany and you stick around, they do play traditionally on Saturdays. Maybe take a train, go to another German city, and go watch the Bundesliga if it's playing that time of the year. Sometimes an international break. Hopefully not, because it'd be really cool to see some of those games if that's a possibility. I know for me, when I do go to Munich, I'm planning to go to Salzburg. So can head over to Austria, not too far away from Munich. So everybody who's heading to Munich, let me know whenever that comes out, when we know the game is, whenever you get your accommodations. Would love to get up with plenty of Panther fans there. And I know from viewing on Twitter, there are German Panther fans who listen to this podcast. So thank you so much. Like, I think my number 3 country, and not to be too much like about myself here a sec, we'll get back to where the Panthers are going to be playing more national televised games outside the one in Munich in a moment. But my biggest country, obviously, is the U.S. because the Panthers are located in the U.S. Then I have a lot of listeners who listen in Canada and then in the U.K. But right there behind them, and I think maybe even third, is Germany. So thank you to all the German Panther fans out there. There was a German Panther fan who gave out I think it was the pick to start off the second round. Or was it? No, it's Saturday. I think it was the Javion Sanders 4th-round pick. There's a Panther fan who did that, and he's from Germany. So really cool to see the team has the influence there with the marketing partnership with the country, and then being able to play a game there in Munich this fall. So very excited about that. That should be a really fun week, fun Sunday for everyone, whether they win or lose. That's just a really great experience that I'm hoping to take part in. Hope that you can take part in if you can afford it, and if you can go, that would be awesome. Really want to meet a lot of y'all who might be international listeners to the show if you do make it out there to Munich later this fall. But as far as will the Panthers have any more nationally televised games outside of that, I'm not sure. Coming up 2-15 and being the Carolina Panthers, I love my hometown of Charlotte. Charlotte's just not a city that a lot of people are thinking about as far as their sports teams, because the Hornets are terrible. They look like they're doing some decent things, but we'll see. The Panthers, they have not been good, have not been in the playoffs since 2017. We all know the story, but coming off 2-15, there's not a lot of buzz around this team as far as nationally. If you're just a casual NFL fan, like, why would you be interested in the Panthers? And that's basically how the NFL looks at it as well. So looking at some of the teams who have played in Germany over the last couple of years, the Colts, they're a team that played in Germany last year, and they did not play on Thursday Night Football. The Colts are also one of those teams where they don't have Peyton Manning anymore. They had Anthony Richardson, but he got hurt. And then they brought in Gardner Minshew. Not like Indianapolis is really a team that you're that interested in. So I can understand why they would not get another game. The Patriots, a little bit different because it's Boston, and we know what their legacy's been, Bill Belichick, all that. They were the opponent, and they played Thursday Night Football later on that season in December, but they played Pittsburgh. So a little bit different. Steelers, Patriots, now pretty big franchises, have the most Super Bowls in NFL history. That's a game that makes a lot of sense for Thursday Night Football. But the Colts did not play one. The Dolphins last year also, they played Thanksgiving against the Jets after playing in Germany. The Chiefs, who they played, different animal with Mahomes. They don't really count. They start off the season on Thursday Night Football against the Lions. I think they had another Thursday Night Football game, whatever, Saturday game. It's Kansas City. It's not a great example to use. Seattle and Tampa played in the first game in Munich back in 2022. The Seahawks did start the season on Monday Night Football before playing in Germany later that season. Their opponent was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who had Tom Brady back then. So like the Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes, not really a great example as far as who, like, if they got to play in primetime again because they're coming off a Super Bowl. So I would not be surprised if the Panthers get the Colts treatment and only get one nationally televised game, and that being the one in Germany. And that doesn't really bother me. Thursday night games, I hate those. I like having night games is great and all, but Thursday, I have my routine, and you'll find that a lot of people who like cover this for a living, we all love to have early games because we can get home, enjoy the rest of our Sundays or Saturdays if we cover college football and all that. It's nice to just have that 1:00. I like the 1:00 kick, having my routine, and I'm not having to jumble things up. Now, 4:00's going to happen because of some West Coast games, of course, which the Panthers going to have. I would be fine if they don't have any primetime games. Now, if they're going to play in primetime, I want them to earn it. I want them to earn it by playing on Sunday Night Football. That is really the only primetime game that I really care about. Monday Night Football is not what it used to be. Yes, I have a better broadcast team. It still does not have the kind of appeal it had in the past, at least to me. That's my opinion. Thursday Night Football, I don't even watch it unless the Panthers are playing. It's an abomination. But Sunday Night Football, that's when I want to see them play. Saturday night, when they get to December, that could be cool too. I would rather not spend my Saturday night in December talking about the Panthers. But Sunday night, I want that. But they got to earn it. So that's how I look at this, where they're going to get Germany, where they're at as a franchise, and just how people view them. I don't think that they're going to get another one outside of that. And not having to play on Thursday night is probably a good thing, because that would mean that they would have to have a short week. And the best thing for these players' bodies is to not have that short turnaround, to be able to go to Germany, figure that out, get a bye week, and then not have to play a game after that on a Thursday night. That's good for them. I'm cool with that. But they want to play in a primetime game. Let it be one that gets flexed later on in the season, because the Panthers have turned things around under Dave Canales, and they're right there in position to win the division or be a playoff team. Like, that's the only primetime game I'm interested in. Don't need Thursday ever again. Don't need Monday. Give me Sunday night. Waiting all day for Sunday night. I want to hear Carrie Underwood singing that. I want to see the slide in with Collinsworth. I want that. Don't care about Herbie and Al Michaels on Thursday. Don't care about Buck and Troy on Monday. And whoever calls a damn game on Saturdays in December. Don't care about them. Give me NBC. Give me the Peacock 820 Sunday Night Football. But you got to earn it first. And by earning it, you got to win games, which they have not been doing. So that is my thought there when it comes to how many national televised games Panthers will have. One, unless they are able to earn the others, which could be later on in the season with Flex Sunday Night Football game, or, getting to the playoffs. That's going to wrap up this edition of the Locked On Panthers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, hosted by yours truly, Julian Council. Again, y'all, subscribe, follow the show for free on YouTube or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. And be sure to follow me, Julian Council, on Twitter at Julian Council, where on Fridays, I answer your weekly Friday mailbag questions, either at me or DM me. Get those questions into me now. But in the meantime, be safe, be happy, be whole, as always, and forever. Keep pounding.